Hey there YouTube, AJ here, and it's time for Hot Rodding's favorite YouTube game show, Will It Run? And enough of that. Anyway, so I am working on my motor here, and it's time to see if this thing will run. Now, I did get a little ahead of myself in filming, and I kind of feel guilty that I may have ripped you guys off of some of the pleasure of what I've been going through here. So let me catch you up. My motor is free now, but it wasn't. It was stuck. And let me catch you up on what I did to get it unstuck. So the first thing I did was, of course, pull the plugs, spray Croil in there, and then I put some of Tom Marvolo's magical mystery lubricating fluid down the holes and let it soak for a while. Did that a couple of times. Of course, I tried to get on the old breaker bar here and give her yanks back and forth, and on all that actually did is if I gave it enough, I could either loosen or tighten the nut on the crank pulley, which I was afraid I'd break the crank pulley, so I didn't want to do that. So I had to come up with some other methods to get this thing free. So I took my breaker bar and I tied this ratchet strap here, ran under the frame, put it up here, and I put about a whole bunch of tension on it. And then with that tension on there, I continued my spraying and lubricating and all that stuff down the spark plug holes. And then for about a week, I would come out here every day and I would run around the block, whacking and tapping and beating and smacking, and hoping I could get a little percussive loosening in there. After about a week of that, didn't seem to be going anywhere, so I had to step up the game. Enter my floor jack. So what I did was take my output shaft here on my transmission, and I used a piece of pipe that went through the yoke just perfectly so I wouldn't damage it. And I would put the output shaft at an angle down like that and put it into third gear. So now the output shaft wouldn't move. Then I took my floor jack, slid her under here, pumped it up, hooked the edge of that pipe, and of course the motor's free now, so it's not working here, but I lift this up until I was holding the weight of the transmission and frame and some of the parts on my floor jack. Now, of course, when I did that, I had to make sure that I was applying pressure to the transmission and to the crank in the same direction, so everything would be working together. I didn't want to have one working against the other. Obviously, that doesn't help you. So I put it into this position with tension on the front end, tension on the back end, and I went another week where I was going around the block, smacking and tapping, doing all that again, trying to get the action moving. And then I would also hop up on the frame, and I'd stand on the engine and transmission, and I would get the whole thing bouncing really good. And I would come out and do that, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a day. I'd go out here, do that, pull plugs, lubricate, do all this over and over and over. That went on for about another week. I got tired of doing that, started to get impatient. I'm 2 weeks in now. So in the meantime, I'd gotten a new battery for my jump pack. Here's where things got a little interest. Took my jump pack, I hooked up the positive cable to my starter input, and I took the negative, and I had it all preloaded with the tension on the front crank, had my floor jack under the transmission with tension on that. I debated a long time whether or not this was a smart move to do, but I actually ended up doing it. And I started giving her a little tap of electricity, grounding it out real quick, and the starter would kick in, but it just ka-chunk, ka-chunk. Nothing happened. So, I got the idea. I got up on the frame and transmission. And then I started getting bouncing again. I started getting my timing, and I hit it. Threw some electricity to the starter while I was bouncing, and it took me a few tries doing that to get it just timed just right to where I had all my pressure coming down and tapped the wire, and the starter kicked in, and it went and it turned. Now I didn't turn a lot. I had a line here marked where the thing was. It only moved maybe 2 degrees, 3 degrees at most, but it moved. So I got excited. I took a little bit of tension back up because this is loosened up a little bit, so I tensioned that back up and I retensioned the transmission, and I did it again. Well, this time it moved, I don't know, maybe that far. It moved another 5-10 degrees. And I was like, oh, maybe we got something. So I took off my ratchet strap, and I came over here, and I was able to move it back a little bit, and then back again. I didn't have a lot of range of motion before it would stick again, but I kept working it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And each time I'd get just a little bit further. And then I got full over like that, and like that. And here's where I messed up. Started getting a little greedy. So once I did that a few times all the way over and back, pulled it down, repositioned, pulled it, started going back and forth, back and forth. So I did that a little more, and I got it to where it was getting kind of stuck, and I couldn't get past it. I got greedy. So I put it down, and I gave it a big old yank. Mistake. I locked it up again. It had about a half rotation on the motor, and I got it good and stuck again, and I couldn't get it free here. So I had to go back through the process, redo the ratchet strap, put tension on the front end, use the floor jack and the pipe on the transmission, put tension on the back end, bouncing it, tapping it, bouncing, tapping it. And it took me a while, but I finally, using the jump box, I got it to move a little bit again. So I'm like a little bit more weeks in now, and it's moving again. I didn't get greedy this time. I started the back and forth, back and forth, back and forth stuff process, and I did it over and over and over until I finally got a full rotation. First, don't worry about this torque wrench. This torque wrench is broken, so I just use it for a giant ratchet wrench now. So anyway, I got it to where it would turn all the way over, and it was pretty easy. In fact, it would do this. So it turns over. So when I first started, it got it moving again. I pulled all the plug. I had all the plugs pulled, and I was looking down in there, and I think there was only 1 or 2 moving valves that I could see, and that was it. And that was like, so I had maybe 2 cylinders with at least 1 moving valve. The others had stuck open valves. So I started spraying Croil onto the valves, and I'd come out here several times a day, and I would crank her by hand over and over and over, get her moving. And I've got it now to where I can only see 1 valve in each spark plug hole when I look in there, but that valve that I can see in every hole is moving up and down. So we got some action happening. So I think we're getting close to getting ready to start this thing. So before I go any further though, I noticed I got some kind of watery oil seeping out between the engine and transmission. So I want to get my oil changed. Or I suppose I should know before I started all this, I did check to see if there was oil in the motor. And it did have oil. It's over full now. The oil is black, and I'm sure there's tons of Marvel mystery oil down in that stuff now. But it seems thin. I'm hoping that's from the Marvel as well, and the Croil and everything else that's run down in there, because it seemed darker and thicker when I first checked it. Anyway, before I start doing any more running this or trying to start it, I think the next step I want to do is get some decent oil inside the block And that's what we got going on next. While we're down here, if we look at my oil pan, you can see it's been modified. And this was in a truck, so I don't know if that oil pan was modified for that truck cross member, or this engine was also supposed to have been built for a dirt track car, so I don't know if it was modified for that, for some kind of like increased oil pickup to keep it from starving the oil going around the track. I'm not sure yet. I do have another oil pan from the 46 motor that came out of the truck originally. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this oil pan or go to that one. I don't know. Ooh, well, it broke free. That's good, I guess. Now, $64 question. How nasty is this going to be? Oh, wait a minute. It's not loose enough. It broke free, but it didn't go finger. I didn't give my fingers yet. Oh, that time I moved. Not that time I can move it. All right, let's try this again. All right, no water, no water, no water. Trying to do this without getting my hand covered in oil, and with my left hand, it's just not working. All right, there we go. Three, two, one. That's all black so far. That's encouraging. Don't look too bad so far. Everything feels good. It feels like oil. Why is this not draining? Shit, the vent. Oh crap. That was near disaster. I hope I didn't get too much on the floor. I forgot to open the vent so it wasn't going into the pan. I don't think I could have caught that with any less time to spare. But on the plus side, I didn't see a bunch of water come out of it, so I'm feeling good. I feel good. Da-na-na-na-na-na. I knew that I would now. Da-na-na-na-na-na. I don't know if I knew it, but I feel better. Alright, well, it's done draining. Looks like I didn't get that vent opened up quite in time. It did run out some over the side here onto the floor. Not too bad, I suppose. I see some kind of chunky stuff in my pan, so let's take a look at that. Well, it's soft, so that's good. It's not metal. Oil feels like oil, so that's a good thing. Yeah, overall, I don't see anything. I felt something a little rough there. Yeah, I'm not finding anything that feels concerning, like metal or shavings or anything like that. So that's good. Go ahead and put our drain plug back in. All right, maybe I don't want to put my drain plug back in yet. I looked into the end of my drain plug, and there's some pretty sludgy stuff in that, but it's all down in the drain plug itself. Almost like grease. I might need to take a look into the see if I can see inside the drain pan before we plug this back up. Yeah, I don't know if you can see in there or not. Kind of looks like there might be some sludge buildup at the bottom of the pan. I'm going to try this very high-tech method. Stick a stick in there and see what I can feel around. See what it comes out looking like. Yeah, it feels pretty sludgy in the bottom of that pan. I really didn't want to drop this pan because I don't have another gasket. Can't tell if that looks silvery or not. There's definitely some sludge in the bottom of that pan though. Yeah, shit. Well, I guess my choices are put some oil in it, pump it through it, and hope I don't move the sludge around too much. Pull the pan off, clean it out, which is probably the smart thing to do, but then I need to get a gasket because I don't have any gaskets. Alright, so I went ahead and ordered a gasket set for this thing. So I figure let's go ahead and drop this oil pan and make a mess. Plus, kind of interested to find out if I actually have a 4-inch crank or not. So let's get her done. Well, as you can see, I'm having trouble getting the drain pan off. Wait a minute. Oh man. Okay, I do see 2 bolts up there. Alright. That might solve my mystery here.
I'm getting ready for this thing to drop on my head here. If I get onto this bolt. Oh shit.
There we go. Okay, so GoPros are awesome for what they do, and they're cool, but man, they can be so daggone frustrating because of course the battery died right as I broke it free, and I had no choice, but again, couldn't stop putting a new battery in it. I just had to, get the oil pan down on the ground. But as you can see, our oil pan is down now. So let's get it out of here and see what it looks like in there. Alright, well, here is our oil pan. Up here it looks pretty good. This would be the front of it. So that doesn't look bad. I'm not feeling, don't feel anything concerning. I mean, there's some gritty stuff in there. It's not shiny metal looking though. Quite a bit of sludge. What is that? That's concerning because that is metal, I think. There are some chunks in the bottom of this. Okay, what are these? Does look kind of silvery in here too. Does that look silvery to you? Ah, boy. I do have some concern now. I have 3 pieces, good-sized pieces of metal that were stuck to the bottom. But, they could have been stuck in a dirty pan that's been in there a long time. We don't know. Starting to feel worse about the health of my engine. I guess the next step is to clean this thing up. Hope for the best. Alright, so yesterday I found 3 chunks of metal in that oil pan. And to tell you the truth, I was a bit disheartened and I quit. I took the 3 pieces of metal and cleaned them up, and then I realized, well, those 3 pieces of metal kind of put together formed a circle. And it looks like this on one side, and the other side was kind of shiny polished metal. And I searched through all the sludge and I only found these 3 pieces buried in that sludge. And so I started thinking, where is the 4th part of this circle? So I started doing some research trying to figure out where these 3 pieces of metal, this circle, could have came from. And well, let me see if I can show you. All right, well, this is my first time trying to use this little bore scoop dealio I got here. Hopefully it's recording, and hopefully I don't get oil in the front of my camera here. Just got something in my eye. Shit. I need 3 hands. Cannot get my flashlight in a position where it'll shine into where I need it. Okay, so my bore scope is too floppy. That's what she said. All right, let's see if this works. All right, okay. I don't know if you can see that, but that edge right there, that is the bottom of a lifter. I can't get a view on the other side apparently to show you. Oh, kind of see the 4th piece there. There it is. That's the 4th piece of the puzzle. If you can see that. It's kind of really hard to see. Right there is about my best view I got of it. So anyway, that lifter dropped the bottom out of it. So now we're going to try to see if I can see if my cam, how bad my cam is, because I can't imagine that did the cam any favors when it fell off there. And I'm kind of guessing that's why this motor was no longer in service, because I'm guessing it didn't have very good performance after that. So let's see. So that's the lifter right there. I think that's the lobe. Okay, so let's rotate the motor and see what we got. Well, it's going to be harder than I thought because I forgot about the crank coming around. I mean, it definitely looks not happy. I can see like a hot spot. What do you call that? Ah, shit! Oh no! Damn it! My camera. I hope my camera's still functioning. My camera's frozen because I've got it pinched between a counterweight and the block. I am now touching a cam lobe and comparing it to the cam lobe. Ooh, it's not great. Ooh, yeah, that's not good. So I'm now touching the lobe that was on the damaged lifter, where the bottom, that lifter basically, the bottom dropped out and broke. And I'm touching the cam lobe that was on that lifter, and it does have some rough spots in it. Profile doesn't feel too bad. False. The profile is now low lift and long duration. In other words, that lobe is really flattened, and yeah, it's toast. So, but in this picture, you can see the broken lifter, you can see the flattened cam lobe. I was able to get my iPhone in and get this pic for you at least. Okay, so I cleaned out my oil pump screen and my oil pan, did all my thinking, or at least all the thinking I can do right now. And yeah, that broken lifter is not a good thing. So anyway, after all my thinking, I did come up with an idea. So let me slap this oil pan back on there. And by slap, I mean fight with it for probably a half hour or so. And then I'll let you know what my idea is. I wish I could say that it only took me a half hour to slap that oil pan back on there. It took me probably closer to an hour, but it's all on there snuck down. It's not tightened, torqued spec yet, whatever. The basic idea was, I've seen these flathead motors run with one head completely missing. So my thought process was, well, why not just go ahead and get it running on 7 cylinders or 6 or 5 or whatever I have that I could get going back in here, and then see how much health I could get into it, you know, do a compression check, see how bad it really was. So I went ahead and ordered a lifter, and I was going to replace it and do this. And then I did some more thinking on it and consulted with some people on the ham. And in the end, I decided that's probably not the best idea. That cam lobe is pretty messed up in there. It's flat. So it's just not gonna, it doesn't make sense to try to run it and destroy that cam lobe more and get more metal grit into the motor. I've already gone ahead and got all the old sludge out and cleaned up the oil pan. So it's probably not wise to do that. So I guess it comes down to, will it run? I'm going to have to say no. Or will it? I got another idea. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video here with it's not running yet. So this other idea I have, well, why do I need that lifter at all? And then I'm not endangering that cam. So I'm thinking, what if I just go ahead and pull that one lifter out of there, leave the intake valve shut, and then try to run it on 7, 6, 5, 4, whatever I got, and then try to do a health assessment. Does that make sense? Hit me in the comments below. Maybe you can catch me before I get there. I'm going to go ahead and button this up and for now, and I'm going to go ahead and start my body mock-up. But when I'm going to come back to this, I think that's what I'm going to try to do, unless you guys stop me in the comments, and I'll probably hit the ham up again on this one too. So that's the plan now. So will it run part 1? No. Will it run part 2? Remains to be seen. So until then, YouTube, later.